What's up, everybody? Christian, real estate investing made easy, which is exactly what we are going to do today. As you know, this is going to be a Q&A, but also followed up from the other days where questions have come in, and it's solo, right? It's just me at this moment. Brad may be jumping on a little bit later. Chris may be jumping on a little bit later, but guess what? What separates us, obviously, as you guys know, who continue to subscribe and follow the channel, is that we're actually doing, and then we talk about what we're doing. So we're here to just bring, hopefully, some answers to questions as well as that already exist, as well as some new ones that come in. So feel free also to share any questions that you have live. And I'm just going to go ahead and get over here and bring this up so I can make sure I'm monitoring the chat so that if any questions do come in from you guys, I will definitely see them. So really appreciate it. And we'll get going here, answering some of those questions. But just so y'all know, as far as the recent content that we posted, we just did some awesome stuff about digital marketing with one of my friends and business owners there with Oxford. And if you haven't seen it yet, it's one of the newer ones that just premiered actually about an hour ago. And I put a thumbnail on it that said, I really wish I knew this 10 years ago. And that's not an over exaggeration. I really wish I knew that stuff 10 years ago about digital marketing because, you know, we teach and train a lot about marketing for real estate investing. One thing that is crucial is the lowest cost per lead, the highest ROI. And, you know, when it comes to that, digital marketing, especially in the digital age, is absolutely crushing it. So you won't want to miss that. It definitely was eye-opening for me, and I hope that it's eye-opening for you too, and that you get some value from it. So in that one, maybe on the next Feedback Friday next week, we'll be answering some of those questions too, should you find yourself interested to know. All right, cool. So I am now monitoring the chat, and we're going to get into some of those questions, and I appreciate your patience with the getting started. As some of you know from my last update, the last live that I did, we were in the Weatherspoon household here, +1. So that is, we had a child. So the bags under my eyes are sleepless nights because of a child who's awake all night. All right, so let's get into the questions. I'll share my screen right here so that you can see what is populated over the last several X, Y, and Z. All right, let me just pop on camera here too so you can see me. All right, so here we are. Some of these questions. The first question we have is on the quick comp and mass offers, the Privy system. So many of you may already know we have the Privy on-market system, but it's really an on-market system. So it's not just exclusive to Privy. It is if you're using Zillow, if you're using Redfin, Trulia, Realtor.com, whatever it is, just so you can make offers quickly. And the question is, how do I get those deal analyzer sheets? The quick answer here is I'll link it in the description below. It's actually a very low price purchase. We put that together. Our goal is to, on this channel, give all of this education that normally would be behind something of $10, $15, $20, $35,000 paywall, $50,000 in the company I used to actually teach, train, and coach in called Fortune Builders, and then give it away for free, so that the people who are looking to take action will and get results. And then when they're ready, they say efficiency tools to make this process faster because I'm ready to scale. Well, we have them, right? So that's really what our model is, because our passion is to just see people succeed rather than just have them get excited about something that maybe they really didn't want to do in the first place and have to pay, you know, X amount of money to then decide they don't want to do it. And now they're in a bunch of debt and they never got a return. So obviously we know if you put money out and you don't get a return, it was an expense. It wasn't an investment. But here in real estate, investing made easy. The point is to actually invest. So you could do that. And thank you for that question. I'll link that in the description below. So we got, looks like Randall, he asked a question. Nobody talks about PropertyRadar versus Propstream. Okay, I actually found somebody who talked about PropertyRadar versus Propstream. They look to be a smaller channel, but that does not mean that they're not successful real estate investors. I will also link that below, but let me just give you my thoughts on this. I will talk about Propstream versus PropertyRadar. It's no secret if you've been following the channel for a while that I definitely prefer PropertyRadar as my main data provider, and I've been using it for years, ever since they were Foreclosure Radar. To put it into one sentence, the differences, and I can expound on this later, between PropertyRadar and Propstream, that I find value in either one is the types of lists. So the types of lists. Now, what I mean by that is if you're going to use Propstream, there's one thing that I appreciate about Propstream, and that I find everything else about Propstream, I won't use it for anything else other than this one thing, and that is for actual like water liens. So like water shutoff. It's a huge niche of real estate. It's like a really great niche target list for new real estate investors and for seasoned real estate investors, because water shutoffs, I mean, let's just put it this way. Picture and imagine your water gets shut off because you can't afford to pay the bill. That's a pretty scary situation. And I intentionally say, you as the investor, picture yourself in that position, because, you know, if you're going to be targeting these people in terms of reaching out to see if you can create a solution, begin with that in mind from an empathetic perspective rather than a sympathetic, right? Because sympathy looks down, but empathy gets down. So you want to put yourself in their situation, and you'll be able to serve them better as you target these individuals to reach out to them with whatever marketing method it is, right? Like I said, we had that digital marketing, basically introduction for about an hour that we just put out, but we also talk about text message marketing. We talk about cold calling. We talk about Facebook marketing, which obviously is, you know, if anybody's who's tried that, the guidelines change all the time. And it is what it is, but we keep up with it so that you guys don't have to. So we continue to give you the most up-to-date info. But all that said, that is like the Propstream pitch, if you will. And again, linked in the description below, you can get started. I know a lot of people have affiliates with Propstream. I don't push it as much. I do use it every once in a while. We pay for it, but it's not the main data provider that I would recommend. I would recommend PropertyRadar. By the way, they don't have an affiliate program. So, I mean, if you wanted to, you couldn't click a link to support the channel. The reason why I like PropertyRadar so much is because of the ability to get super niche and stack multiple levels of motivation. And let's just go ahead and give you an example. So an example of that would be if I'm looking to find people who recently sold their property, or sorry, recently purchased their property, I guess it would have sold in the last 2 years. And then it was before the interest rates climbed. And I'm looking for little equity because my end goal in mind is to purchase that property subject to the existing mortgage in place and then rent it out. So ostensibly, you would think there's no value in targeting something that has no equity and that somebody just bought because they're going to want more for the property. The truth is, the way that in which you would approach that is by going to PropertyRadar and searching based off of mortgage interest rates, based off of the actual either maturity date of the loan or the purchase of that property over the last couple of years and in this specific time. And it's super simple to do that. And it gives you, it opens the door to different strategies as a real estate investor. And I know people talk about wholesaling is the best way to get into real estate, but let me tell you something that I wish that I would have known 10 years ago. And this is not about digital marketing. You can learn all about that in the video we just posted, but it's super serious. I wish that I had bought rentals sooner. And I didn't buy rentals sooner. So we didn't start buying rentals until about 2-3 years ago. And we've done it across the country. And it's been successful. But I look at it now because what have you done for me lately really is wholesaling. So getting into it, obviously, it's a really great way to start. But if you're wanting to scale and make this something that's a career for yourself, then you're going to want to be able to create massive passive income. So the way to do that is rentals, and it could be one rental property at a time. Take some money from a wholesale transaction and then stock it away for a down payment. But here's the truth. You don't even need to do that, because what we're doing is buying, just like Pace Morby has, he talks about this all the time. And if you guys don't know him, which I would be surprised if you didn't in this field, check him out. The strategy is to buy with basically subject to seller financing situations for rentals. So you don't have to have really any money down except for your earnest money deposit. And just so you know, as earnest money deposits are concerned, That doesn't have to be significant. I know a lot of people think, well, if I'm going to buy a house, why would, I have to save up 10% or 5% for, that's a traditional mortgage purchase. Okay. Many times we have controlled properties with an earnest money deposit of $250 on properties that are worth millions. And I don't say that to impress you. I just say that to encourage you that you can, as a business owner, phrase that in a specific way to somebody who's looking to sell. And it makes a lot of sense. Light bulbs go off, right? They're in the dark, right? And then all of a sudden you tell them this, and then boom, the light bulb pops on, and I'll tell you how to do it. So here's how you would do it. You're having a conversation with a seller, and if they're even worried about the earnest money deposit at all, then you're going to respond about this. Well, the reason why we do have the earnest money deposits the way we structure them is because we're making 30, 40, 50 offers every single week. And if all of them get accepted, then we're not going to be able to perform right away to stay liquid. So we have to set these business standards, and part of that is the earnest money deposit. And obviously that makes sense, right? I mean, as a business owner and an investor, wouldn't you agree? So they would usually not give any resistance after that. But if they do, hey, what are you actually looking for? What do you need? Because our timeline to close is 2 weeks. So, our money goes hard and then we're closing. So, I mean, you're going to get the rest of the money right away. It's not really that much of an objection that we haven't been able to overcome, not because we're doing anything special other than just simply being transparent and communicating. We're making a lot of offers. We're not going to get, if we get all of them accepted, which has happened before, where we had in 1 week 10 offers accepted, and we were like, thank the Lord that we did not have earnest money out that was more than $250 per each property, because otherwise we would be, we have private money lenders and stuff, but that's not typically what we're using to actually to do earnest money. So we don't borrow earnest money deposits. It's what's liquid. So by the way, I just got a message from Brad that said he's back in action. So he may be listening right now, but Brad, I'm going to say you can pop on, buddy, because I'm sure that people, my beloved audience here, you guys would really appreciate Brad's insights, as I always do as well. But until he does, we're going to continue to move on. So let's go ahead and check out the next question. And I hope that was valuable for you guys. I hope that kind of was insightful when it comes to that. So that really is the long road around saying, PropertyRadar versus Propstream. It's about putting yourself in the best position possible so that you, as the real estate investor, can serve the client that you have confidence in serving. Because if you don't know short sales, you're not going to target short sales. And that's obvious, right? But if you know, hey, I used to do mortgages, you can do this example that I mentioned before, and many other ways in which to target people that you can actually serve. All right. So we got Mr. Smooth Guy 305 who asked, hello, by chance, do you know if typically does a real estate investing based LLC carry the entity business protections and liability separation to other states into fast-paced transactions that I may not have time to set up the foreign qualifications in time for, though I still would like to know if the LLC has its coverage capabilities intact? Okay, so that is a very, very good question. And as it turns out, I have an answer. Obviously, everyone, what I'm going to tell you is I'm not an attorney, okay? So anything that I say in terms of legal advice is not to be construed as that. And, my lawyer would say it's for entertainment purposes only. Listen, this is from the mouth of other lawyers that I've had conversations with and the way we've set up our businesses and entities. So I'm just going to share the information that I have gathered from them. Okay. So Mr. Smooth Guy 305, good question. And the answer is this. If you're really in a rush, right? Say, I'll give us, for an example, our entity that we're doing business in our real estate investing company is an LLC from Nevada. There's a lot of benefits to Nevada. Charging order is one of them. And that is just to say that at the end of the day, if there's a frivolous lawsuit, because this is all about protecting you against frivolous lawsuits, don't do anything illegal. Don't do anything shady. And then you'll be protected from frivolous lawsuits. Now, if, as we invest in California, say that we're in a rehab and a contractor slips and falls and breaks his leg, and then he wants to sue us, the owner of the property, even though we have builder's risk insurance, and we have a hold harmless agreement. So it's an indemnification and hold harmless agreement. We all know how litigious California can be. So if they're able to somehow void those, then at the end of the day, if we're going to go to court, we're ultimately going to have to take it to Nevada. And that is one of the benefits. Now, all that information said, to your question, if you are in a fast-paced transaction, and we've done this before too, get a lead, and then the next day we got contracts signed, and by the end of the week we're closing, and I don't have time to set up an entity, what am I going to do? What I've done, and what I'll tell you I've done, is as long as you're doing things above board, especially if you're just wholesaling, because wholesaling is just moving paper, it's not really taking ownership of it. If you're assigning it, obviously if you're double closing, that's a different story, but you wouldn't, and ostensibly shouldn't be, owning that property when anything is getting done to it. And make sure that you have protections in place to make sure nobody breaks into it, depending on where you are. Because just like a contractor, a squatter, if you own that property for a week and somebody walks into that property and then they trip and fall and they say, oh, I need surgery on my ankle, you could be liable for that. So that, I mean, that's why Mr. Smooth Guy is probably asking this question, because it's a really good one. What I would recommend you do is get dummy security cameras in that instance. If you are planning on delaying that and you're double closing and holding onto that property and taking title. So there's dummy cameras there with the little red lights. They're very cheap on Amazon. You can get them to dissuade people from going in and breaking in. Now, if you're not in a place where there's a lot of break-ins and crime like that, you may not need to worry about that. But my advice would be close on the property as quickly as you can. If you're planning on doing business in that state for the long term, the state's going to want the money that they are entitled to, depending on that state's income tax. Then you're going to want to set up a foreign file just when you can. Now, I like in California, we did some business in California. We knew we were going to be doing business. We set up a foreign file immediately. With other states that we do business, we did a deal in Mississippi, a couple deals in Mississippi. And it was just a wholesale transaction. We didn't take title to the property. Properties. So what we did was we just talked to our attorney and we said, well, basically the same question that you asked. Do we need to set this up? Can we do business? And he said, yes, of course, just set it up. You'll do that. And then don't worry about it after the transaction is done, because you don't have time to do this. It was a quick, kind of like what you're talking about, weeks time, then get the entity set up for tax purposes. But for legal purposes, again, those other things that I mentioned, if you're not in there and you're going to rehab it, consider just immediately doing it, get it as soon as possible, get your insurance in place. If you're going to be rehabbing it, then obviously you're going to want vacant dwellers, builder's risk, and name any lender you have as additionally insured on the insurance policy. Get a hold harmless agreement from your contractors, even if they're a handyman, not just your general contractor, but also every single sub that works on that project. You're going to want to personally give them the documents that they need to make sure that everything is laid out for compliance and legal purposes. And not only is it going to be the insurance indemnification, but you're going to want to give them a W-9. You're going to want to make sure that you sign a specific contractor agreement, an independent contractor agreement that stipulates, that they're responsible for what's in the scope of work, which means that you have to give each of them a scope of work, right? Following the critical path method. If you don't know what that is, I'll leave a link to more education about the critical path method in construction. That follow it as strictly as you can with a payment schedule, benchmarks, and milestones that correlate to payments for work completed that's specified in a generalization, calling back to that scope of work. All these protections in place are going to put you in a better position, Mr. Smooth, so that if there is anything that goes wrong before the foreign filing is set up, really, which is more for tax purposes, then it's just going to be a shelter for you. You're going to be less at risk. And again, that's why a lot of people don't grow and scale real estate investment businesses nationally. And that's why it's not really sustainable if you're just fix and flipping and wholesaling, calling back to what I mentioned before, because it's what have you done for me lately? You need rental properties, you need to buy and hold. And of course, if you're buying rentals in this capacity, you absolutely need to set up the entity foreign file as quickly as you possibly can. I would recommend Nevada, although we do have entities in Arizona and Montana and a couple other places. So just keep that in mind. I want to make sure I answered all of your question. So let's just look. Though I still would like to know if the LLC still has it coverage capabilities intact. So again, consult a lawyer on that. I think the answer to that question is yes. It's more about tax purposes. So because it's not business license. It's specifically like if you're not foreign filed in this state, then the government's not really aware, right? The government, as far as the state government, is not really aware of that. And then they eventually will be aware of that. So you want to make sure that that is put in place. So I hope that answered your question. If it didn't completely, please link in the description or the comments below and let me know, and I'll continue to answer that a little bit more in depth. So the next question we have is related to the on-market offer system. This should be illegal. And this is Jasmine East. And they said, so does the MLS offer adjust the ARV based on market? So the answer to that question is very specific in context to Dan's spreadsheet that he's walking through here. There are if-then protocols. The offer is actually based off the MLS list price, and that formula is not set, or it's set in intervals. For example, if the MLS offer is in a certain range, then the offer discount is X, right? So if the list price is 100K, then the if-then is the discount could be 30% or 20% or whatever it is. And then if it goes up, then the discount is different. So it's variable. So that answers your question. That's how the ARV is adjusted. And for those of you who don't know what that is, after repair value. All right, so the next question is, how do you find cash buyers for MLS deals? Great question. There are a myriad of ways to find cash buyers for MLS deals, because it's exactly the same as finding cash buyers for any other type of deal. Now, you have to understand that a lot of investors will, in some areas, depending on their business model, look at your property that you got under contract and negotiated, possibly, and it's under contract, but it was listed on the property or on the MLS. And they'll look at that and say, well, if it was $100,000, sticking with the same example, and your list, that was a list price, and you got it under contract for $80,000, they may think, I really want it steeper than that. I could have negotiated $20,000. It's not enough for me. And you're trying to make, I don't know, maybe you're selling it for 85. So I guess that would mean 15K. So 15K may not be enough. You want to still find your buyers, and I'll share with you exactly how to do that. But you're going to have to ask them that. Hey, do you have any qualms if there's a property that's listed for 100K and I bring it to you for a certain amount? You're not going to want to deal with it. Just have that conversation with them. And obviously there's no like and trust involved, right? You want to be professional in this. And I'll tell you a couple ways to do it. The easiest way to find buyers, cash buyers, whether it's for MLS deals, because it's the same, or whether it's for any other deal that you have, the simple answer is network. I would say from your computer, you could go onto Facebook groups that are wholesale groups, that are rehab groups, any investment groups, and start asking. And again, I'll caveat this in a second, start asking for, buyers in the area. Now, Christian, might be your question. What do I do when the admin of those Facebook groups say that's not allowed? You can't just build your buyers list. Well, you could take a deal like a case study deal that we've done, and I would recommend you watch some of those. And you can put it online and say, hey, there's a property here that is X, give them all the numbers, and we're looking for people who would be interested in properties like this one or this property. And then when they come back and they message you privately and have a discussion with you, then you can let them know, well, that deal, we don't have that deal anymore or at all, because you want to be within integrity. But we are looking for cash buyers in other areas and this area. Are what's your buying criteria? What's your buy box? So have that conversation with them. And that's kind of the everyday kind of thing. Set aside maybe 10 minutes a day, 15, 20 minutes a day to do that. I would absolutely recommend, as somebody who might be newer, it's to think that it's not too early to actually scale your team, to hire a virtual assistant. And speaking of hiring virtual assistants, everyone, we have a hiring virtual assistant series coming out. It's part of our employee hiring system made easy, and it's covering It's covering everything from the introduction to the hiring system that gives you insight on getting candidates in your pipeline, how to conduct interviews, how to negotiate with these candidates so that you can have somebody to do that task that I'm suggesting for you. The other way to find cash buyers that is going to be really profitable for you, if you're using Privy, then you can actually download lists that are going to skip trace, that you can then skip trace to find the buyer contact information that are MLS listed properties, or that were actually buyers, because the investors themselves are listed on there too, which is a great way to utilize Privy in and of itself, that you can then download that list of those cash buyers and then skip trace them. And I'd recommend Best Skip Tracer, linked in the description. You get like a discount and stuff in your first month, but you'll be able to find their contact details. And then the simplest way to do it is literally just get your phone and call them. Start building a relationship. Now, I don't know if, the person who asked this question, Starries, that you're new or that you're seasoned. But what I'll say is, if you are asking the question, how do I actually bring up anything to a buyer? Like, how do I have that conversation with them? Well, consider this. They need you, right? If they're not doing off market, or if they're not doing on market marketing in-house, a lot of investors are getting deals from wholesalers. So you, as a wholesaler, if you are in fact wholesaling, are a really good commodity, so to speak, for these investors who are going to flip the properties. So call them knowing that you're excited about a potential relationship to make them money, where you'll also obviously make money. And call them up and say, hey, this is, I'll just say for me, hey, this is Christian from Lazarus Property Group. I saw that you were actually buying deals in this area, whatever area, in San Diego, right? Are you interested in buying any more? They're going to tell you, right? So obviously if they say, no, not really, well, then the conversation's over. Move on to the next one. But if they say, yeah, I am, then say like, oh, cool. So how long have you been in business? Get to know them, right? We have this networking called Rome Networking. You can check it out on our site. It's just basically a little bit more information about how to network. It's based off of How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie's Ford, Friends, Occupation, Relationships, Dreams. If you're more like an introvert like I am, and you need a little bit of a guide to talk to people and to get to know them, taking a genuine interest in people is really the way to build a good buyer's list. Taking a genuine interest in their business and the success of their business, because you're the one who's going to very heartily look for opportunities for them to make money. So just carry on that conversation with them, get their buy box information, focus your marketing efforts, whether it's on market or off market deals, in that area where they're looking. And then you'll know, Starry and everyone else, who or what their criteria set would be for buying. So if you find that $100,000 house, you negotiate it to $75K and you're under contract, and then you try and sell it for $80K, you're going to know whether or not that buyer that you built a relationship with is going to want to move on that or not. So that's what I would recommend. All right. So we got a couple other questions here as well. We got excellent video, very informative. Thank you. Can you create a video on preferred data providers that provide reasonable data / leads? Skip tracing as well. I can also schedule a call with your team. Thank you. Cool. I like that question. But as it turns out, I'm not going to answer that one right now, because we did a lot about data. In fact, I came out with, we just talked about some data providers, right? Propstream versus PropertyRadar. The only thing I'll say to that is stay tuned, because we're pulling out some video content about that very soon. And we're going to definitely, hopefully add some value to you in that. And that was Jay Griffin. I appreciate your question. So if you do have any questions, please put them in the chat, because we are going to be answering questions live. This has been about 30 minutes. We have about 15 minutes left. So I want to make sure that you get all of your questions answered. And I got Brad. He says, hey, Christian, send me the link to pop on for that for the last part of the video. Cool. So your boy Brad's coming up. All right. So we're going to get him on here to answer a couple questions and to continue. So please stand by. All right. While I get this link sent over to Mr. Brad. All right, so it should be popping on here in a second. In the meantime, we do have another question. That is there... No, we actually answered that one last week. Got off my bucket list. Propwire. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Here's Brad, but I'm still going to answer this question. For Propwire, but did not get another owner information. By the way, Propwire now has the ability to skip trace leads. And I'll tell you why you should use the Propwire skip tracing, even though I recommend Best Skip Tracer, and it's linked in the description, as I mentioned earlier. Here's the deal. You can actually skip trace leads, prospects, write one-off prospects one by one inside a wallet on Propstream. And it's 10 cents with no subscription or anything like that. Now, you're going to pay a lot more if you're following our system and you're doing the volume that we're recommending you do to be successful in real estate investing. And there is no comparison in terms of the type of data that you can get. I mentioned buyers, right, earlier when we were talking about Starry's question. When it comes to skip tracing leads, not all skip tracing companies are created equal. Many of them are using the same providers that they'll tell you, well, we'll go against criminal background checks, we'll go against social media platforms, we'll go against web forms that people have entered in their contact details so that you can get in front of them. And sure, that might actually work okay, but Propstream admittedly has said that their hit rate is 80%. Now, that's not terrible, okay? I'm not saying that that's the worst. But if you're going to download, whether you pay for or whether it's free, a massive list of, say, 50,000, 25,000, even if it's 10,000, you're better suited to get a higher hit rate, paying 8 cents a skip with Best Skip Tracer on their $97 a month package as you do this repeatedly, because there's a 95 to 97% hit rate. So consider that. That is literally from 80 to 97, that's a massive 17% additional leads, literally like prospects that you could get contact data for. And how many of those people could you get deals from? So you want to make sure that if you're doing this at scale, that you use tools that are built to do this at scale. Not to mention the fact that the way in which they're scrubbing the data is a lot more concise and to the point, which obviously results in a higher hit rate. But that's not to diminish Propwire. I'm going to be using Propwire. We do driving for dollars and stuff like that. We have teams that go out and drive for dollars. They send us leads. And we don't want to go inside of Best Skip Tracer and put it in a spreadsheet and do all this. You could just use the address lookup in Propwire and then click the skip trace button for 10 cents and find it, and then call that person immediately and then see if you got a deal or not. So it really curbs, and this is the reason why I would say use the skip tracing services inside of Propwire in addition to Best Skip Tracer. There are different strategies and different approaches. So that was from the name on here is @user-nt4. I think it was just one that let me click on his profile so I can give him a shout out and actually say it was a great. Okay, so it was Rafay Hussein. Really, really good question. Thank you. This gentleman right here. I really appreciate your question. That's what I would tell you about data providers. I know I said I wasn't going to answer your question. I still didn't. I went off on a tangent. I will answer your question with the next videos that pop up, but it is a good point, as they being Propwire recently came out with the ability to skip trace leads. And you may be wondering, Christian, why would you even promote that? No, they don't have an affiliate program. So whatever. I think it works. That's why. Do it because it works. All right. Enough about that. Brad, welcome belatedly to this live stream, which we're going to pop
man?
10 minutes, man. How you doing?
Dude, my power was out this morning. Crazy. It's perfect weather out in San Diego, so I just can't imagine why the power would be out, but it was out. I was out, camera, my lights, everything I wasn't able to get on. So it got turned back on, and here we are. Glad you could carry the channel without me.
It's not about me, man. It's about everybody who tunes in. So it's only as valuable as the people who are tuning in. You and I could talk about anything, but if it's not something that anyone wants to hear about and it's not adding value, then we're just kicking it, which is totally fine. I'm down to kick it. I'm sure people out there definitely want to hear what you have to say. Brad, I want to hear what you have to say. you Slack messaged me and mentioned that you had a couple points that you wanted to touch on that you think that everyone would find value from. So take it away, man. It's yours.
Well, when I haven't been on watching exactly, so what have we been going over so far? What questions?
Gotcha. Just struggling to get back power. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we went through some of the questions, a bit that were a little bit further that I hadn't actually answered.
Okay.
But some of it was about the on-market offer system. And, one thing that I brought up, which I think you can speak to, is the necessity to scale your team sooner than you think you're ready to, because we're coming out with this very soon. Whole training series. It's going to be a playlist inside of YouTube and other platforms that you can just digest 100% for free. That's going to be normally something like that would literally be behind a paywall where you would have to shell out thousands and thousands of dollars for. It's our exact hiring process to retain employees. And when I say employees, I'm talking about virtual assistants, everyone, because the truth is they're an employee of your business. And if you treat them like that, and you don't just treat them like cogs in a wheel, like these, they're people, man. We have a very specific interview process that will help us do exactly that, where, I mean, we are blessed to have rock stars on our team that have been with us for years, and they were virtual assistants. So it's pretty unheard of. I'm really, really excited about putting that out because I know it's been a gap. I got the analytics on the back end here, and I see what our subscribers are looking for and searching for and other information they're digesting. And a lot of them are looking about how to scale a real estate investment business. And then what happens is a lot of people they pitch courses, they pitch products, they pitch services. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but it's the value is behind all of that. Well, we want to bring that value to you guys so we can help you make real estate investing easy. So maybe with your own experience so far, speak to that. Because certainly I would belabor that point. I'm doing the entire course for virtual assistants, for in-house team, and for real estate super team, and they're all really in depth, and I'm throwing them out for free.
Yeah, Christian's putting a lot of effort and energy into this course, guys. So when it comes out, definitely check it out. It'll be a huge value to you. But I guess to the point of scaling your team before you think you need to, I would say part of that is probably fear that you're not going to get a return or return quick enough. You don't have the capital to get started and pay those people. But just know anytime you're spending money on your business, there is a return. And if you have the right systems and processes in place for those team members to use, then it's just a matter of time. It's just going to be a matter of time for that return to come in. How much time is really up to how hard you're working and what your consistency in action is day to day. So being consistent, and you don't have to put in 8 hours. If you have another job, obviously you're not going to be able to, but consistently after work or before work, coming in, getting on the phones, pulling data, making sure that you are having those conversations with sellers, because that's what's going to make your money. That's where you make your money. You're going to have a return quickly, and you're going to be able to reinvest into the business. So looking at it from a return aspect, you need to have systems and processes in place. You need to know your metrics so that you can hold those employees to that standard. They have accountability, and then letting kind of, a lot of people are afraid to give portions of the business, I'd say roles and responsibilities away to other people because they don't think they can do it as well or will care as much. But I think if you're going, let's say you hire domestically, you just need to find people that are going to you will trust and that believe in the vision that you have for the company, so that when you're, say, paying a acquisitions manager or lead manager on commission only, they understand that they are, as long as they put in the effort and energy and time into it, and they stay consistent, they believe, and you guys trust each other, that money will come in. So I guess that would be my advice is consistency, hiring people you trust, and definitely signing up for Christian's virtual assistance course.
Well, check it out. There's no signing up needed. All you got to do is just popping out on YouTube. So I just wanted to give you guys a little key and answer that question. I want to answer that question. Why are you ready to scale? Why are you ready to hire sooner rather than later? It's because of this. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And I can tell you what that means for me. What that means for me is that I am going to be a jack of all trades and a master at none and not really succeed at anything, or I'm going to realize what my strengths and weaknesses are, and I'm going to outsource and I'm going to let go of some control and also provide a great opportunity for other people to make a living. And you may be asking, well, I don't have the money. I just started. You can afford to hire a virtual assistant that will benefit their life, benefit their family, and benefit you, give you more time back. And I breezed over this, but this is really important. So you can work less and profit more. So that is a absolutely shameless plug for the free content that we're going to roll out here very soon. I'm working on that right now. Obviously, I'm very excited about it because, I mean, speaking of things that I wish I knew 10 years ago, I wish I knew this 10 years ago. I mean, I was starting to learn it, but in terms of implementing it 10 years ago, I'm not talking about just one assistant because I've had virtual assistants for that. I'm talking about literally scaling a team of virtual assistants. And then after this comes the management aspect, which we also have content coming out about that. So it's, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Just remember that. I am no longer the smartest person in this room because now Brad has joined. So thank you, Brad,
I would
for
say
helping
the same
me
thing.
scale.
Yeah, really.
Awesome. Well, I mean, if we got any other questions or any other comments you wanted to mention, because we got 2 minutes, we try to be concise with time.
Yes.
We're entrepreneurs. We're trying to get deals done. And I want that same thing for everyone watching.
Well, we do have one question. It says, hi, Chris and Brad. It's from Zainab Ma. Hi, Chris and Brad. New to wholesaling. I have a small budget. I would start with text blast with launch control and pulling lists from PropertyRadar. I'm a little for cold calling is more powerful. I'm assuming if he's asking if cold calling is more powerful. And I would say biggest bang for your buck is text message marketing. That's why we have poured so much into it, invested so heavily into it. You're going to get the lowest cost per lead in front of the most people in the shortest amount of time with getting your message in front of them as quickly as possible. You basically have your elevator pitch in your message. So
there's one question though that you didn't ask that's important to ask. That is, how do I know I'm ready? How do I know I'm ready to do something like that? Knowing the prices and knowing how much it's going to cost. You know you're ready when you have 3 months of that budgeted out, okay, for a quarter, so that you can be consistent with your marketing. Because if you're not consistent with your marketing, you're going to think maybe this isn't working for me. Well, that's not actually the case a lot of times. And by not working for you, there's a lot of factors. I would love to hear more about this. Okay. So Zanabma, I really appreciate your question. Write in the comment section the answers to these questions, please, because I want to address them. And that is, where are you investing geographically? Are you doing it virtually? Or are you in person? How long have you been investing? And what is your marketing budget that you can reasonably, without stretching it, without taking food off of your plate, what is a reasonable marketing budget for you to be able to sustain for 3 months? And that should dictate what you're going to do, because it's not a matter of what is going to get me the best return. Does cold calling work? Yes, it works. Should you, just like Brad, I completely agree with you. Just like you said, yes, of course, text message marketing, and I would reframe it from text blasting to being TCPA compliant, right? Utilizing something like launch control, that's going to get you the best ROI and the fastest response, because as soon as I got, oh, hold on, I got a text message from somebody. It's always with you, right? It's always with you. And if it's not always with you, then teach me your ways. I'll be your Padawan, because unplugging from technology is great, but most people aren't doing it. Says the person who's live right now on YouTube in a studio. So my point, and I think Brad's point, is you'll look at a text. A lot of people won't answer their phone if they don't know the number, but you can still get motivated sellers by cold calling. We cold call.
Oh yeah.
Because even if you leave a message, if they're in a situation where they want to sell their property, they're going to listen to that voicemail and say, okay, I got to call these guys back and see what their offer is because I got to sell my house. Right. We talked about water shutoff leads in Propstream. Boy, they're going to call you back. Okay. For sure.
To your point, like what's, your budget, what can you sustain for 3 months? It's, I mean, because, like you're saying, cold calling works, messaging works, direct mail works, door knocking works. They all work. It's just a matter of how much is it going to cost and how long is it going to take to get a deal?
Yeah.
And so your budget is going to dictate what your time allotment is, all that. So we just need more information to help you out a little better, Zainab.
And you mentioned elevator pitch, and that's important too. Just understanding that by elevator pitch, it's not just about like, oh, you got 30 seconds, go. It's just really pouring into your education. So another question that would be good to know about your particular journey, and anyone who's in this type of context asking, hey, what's better than another thing? It all depends on your confidence in yourself in terms of if you got 10 leads, and I'm talking about leads, not prospects, right? You're marketing to prospects. They respond to your marketing, whatever that is. You're on the phone with them and there's 10 of them in one day. How, on a scale of 1 to 10, confident are you in closing, right? Do you think you could close 3 out of 10, 4 out of 10, 5 out of 10? Because that will help us dictate like, okay, well, we recommend you do this first, do this second, and do this third. So yeah, really good point that you brought up, Brad. I mean, if there's anything else that you wanted to talk about, I do have a couple more minutes, although we do try to end this thing out of respect for everybody's time right away. But Brad, was there anything else that you wanted to drop some gold nugget from the sky information on us?
No, I think it's good to end on time here, and we can get into it either on a call with me if you guys are looking at doing any type of marketing, you guys need any help, you guys are looking at any of our offerings, products or services related, there is going to be a Calendly link in the description of this video. You guys can schedule time with me to go over those questions and hopefully get some answers for you. But no, I think this is good. I wanted to hop on today, and because my power got turned back on, I was able to. So
gotcha.
Nope, I've said everything I want to say.
I wanted to say one final thing. If you haven't seen this, because I just put it out like literally this morning, you got to go check this out, because as far as the what I wish I knew 10 years ago, that is not an exaggeration. This newest, oh, hey, look at Brad, you got Brad case study. But right here, this guy, Daniel Holdeman, is a rock star. He owns a digital marketing agency. Okay. You would think he's a competitor. He's not. This is for every business, any business, and it is so powerful. And the way that he spoke about digital marketing got me excited to call Brad and call Chris and my whole team and say, guys, we need to scale our digital marketing, paid social, paid media, PPC, all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
And after this, I'm going to be giving a call to Chris and we're going to talk about it, dude, because it is crazy. So be sure to check that out if you want to benefit your life. If you want to benefit your business. All right.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody, so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys. I love y'all. God bless you. Have a good Friday, a good Friday. And also happy Resurrection Day, Easter to all of you.
Yes. Praise the Lord.